Boston takes Game 2 of the NBA Finals year 2024. And we had a close game, even though, to me, for most of the second half, it didn't feel like a close game, right? It didn't feel like you were Batman. Shout out, Donkey. That was a horrible joke. Anyway, it just didn't feel that close, right? Luka cooled off after a sensational first half. Kyrie was not going, and the Celtics were still creating great looks, and it just didn't feel like the Mavs were in it as much as they were, quote unquote, right? Anyway, once again, the biggest issue: Kyrie Irving has not played like Kyrie Irving in this series. 16 points on 18 shots. The efficiency isn't even as horrible as I thought it'd be, right? I thought he shot like even worse than he did, and that speaks volumes because he still shot under 40% from the field. 2 turnovers to 6 assists isn't as bad, but the shots have been bad. He has not been, making his shots. Some of it is great defense, obviously, because they have a lot of great defenders. Derek White, Jrue Holiday, Jalen Brown are all really good defenders for Kyrie, but at the end of the day, he does not look confident. He does not make does not make his usual shots, and that's an issue. Obviously, the biggest example to me was, and one of the Mavericks, one of my favorite Mavericks fan, SJ on Twitter, go follow her, pointed it out that he didn't pull up for a transition 3-pointer at the end, right? That's where the confidence is lacking. He has not made a 3-pointer in this final so far, which is kind of crazy. And I think at least half of them were actually open. Obviously, a lot of them are self-created tough shots, but the most skilled player ever should be making more of his shots then, right? That's the pedestal they put Kyrie on. That's the pedestal Kyrie is held on in the media and in the overall basketball world right now, and he has not played like it at all because PJ Washington did his job, right? Daniel Gafford did his job. Derrick Jones Jr. did his job. Luka, besides the turnovers and the defense, which we'll talk about in a bit, he did his part in a way too. The bench is awful, that's for sure. Maybe you need to dust off Tim Hardaway and hope he can give you something, but I wouldn't hope for it. I guess Dante Exum at least gave you some good minutes, so that's a good thing. But Josh Green, Kleber, and Lively, really bad. Even though Lively had some moments, at least it has not been as impactful as he was throughout the playoffs and throughout the year, unfortunately. He has not been bad per se, but just not as impactful as you need one of these players. You don't need all of these, but one of these players to be impactful in Lively, Kleber, Green. One of them need to be at least a little bit more impactful if they want to beat this Celtics team, which is just so well rounded, right? They create so many great shots, even though they shot very cold from the 3-point line, just 10 of 39, and it was in the fourth quarter where they finally snapped out of it, right? They made 5 of them in the fourth, right? 4 of 9 in the fourth, actually. So that was the only quarter they shot well from the 3-point line. But it does not matter, right? They play solid defense. Even though they got out rebounded, it was just by one. And forced more turnovers from Luka, obviously. Luka and Kyrie had 10 combined. Tatum and Brown had 9 combined. Slide win for Boston. Slide win for Dallas in the rebounding numbers, and slide win for Boston in the 3-point shooting numbers, because the Mavs shot even worse than the Celtics did. And those are the 3 keys, right? And Celtics won 2 of the 3 keys to the series. And they won the game, surprisingly, right? It's tough, right? They have so many good players. The rotation is just sensational. 8-guy rotation, even though somehow they went 0 of 5. Peyton Pritchard gave them that half-court shot that made it, obviously, the momentum just go completely back to Boston. Jrue Holiday, 26 points on 11 of 14 shooting, 11 rebounds, some great defense. Derek White made some timely shots and timely defensive plays, right? 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 ass stocks. And Tatum and Brown did their thing in a way too. Jalen had some trouble with turnovers, but he did make some good plays down the stretch. They all got to the foul line really well in this game. I thought they used the foul line to their advantage and made their free throws, unlike Dallas. Jason Tatum, even though he continues to just struggle offensively in this series, once again, 6 of 22, which is not great. He has been doing everything else really well. a lot of people are saying he has been great defensively. I don't see it that way. I think he's been okay defensively. But at the end of the day, he's guarding Luka more, right? And he had made timely plays, so that makes up for not being as consistently great defensively as he usually is, in my opinion. But obviously, for a superstar, he's not been like sensational, but he's been also really solid, right? He's just an easy target. He gives you everything. Somebody pointed it out on Twitter. Um, Jason Tatum gives you the good defense or great defense, if you want to call it. I would say it was solid today. Great playmaking today. 12 assists to 3 turnovers, and the playmaking is the biggest difference between Tatum here and between Tatum in 2022 in the finals against my Warriors. And he obviously gives you great rebounding, really great rebounding again from Tatum today. 9 rebounds, and he just grabs some tough ones. Um, anyway, Jason Tatum gives you a little bit of everything, and he, despite his shooting struggles, doesn't affect his game, all around game, and that's why the Celtics are where they are, because they are just a great team and they play like a team at the end of the day. And obviously they have the most talented starting five in the NBA. That's all there is, and they still have Kristaps Porzingis off the bench, who, even though he got, I don't know if injured, right? He looked a little rusty down the stretch. Uh, he still obviously gives you just incredible rim protection, threat from the outside. The spacing on this team is just insane, right? Everyone is a threat from the 3-point line, and the spacing is just speaks for itself, right? And when you go double on Tatum, put two bodies on Tatum, or obviously go to the side where Tatum is, it makes it also easier for him to play make. And that might also be the issue where uh, against the Warriors, it wasn't as easy for him to play make as it is here. Even though you still gotta give him credit for improving upon that playmaking and making it better, because playmaking Tatum is the best Tatum at the end of the day, right? And he still is a real positive for the Celtics in this series, despite shooting like 40% true shooting percentage, right? Um, and that's just what it is. And obviously, they do a really good job putting Luka in every single pick and roll and so many actions defensively where Luka has not given enough resistance to it, right? He gives up so many weird blow-eyes. The effort is just awkward, weird, if you can call it even an effort. And that just always, does badly for the overall team, right? The rotations are harder to make. And that obviously leaves with Celtics spacing more open 3-point shooting, more ability to attack the closeouts. And that's just the recipe for disaster, as great as Luka is offensively, even though those free throws, dog. And the turnover, some of them were just awkward, man. But obviously, he's dealing with a lot of pain also. You saw him on the injury report with some back issues also now. So it's tough, but that's what it is. I don't know, man. I don't know if the Mavs can force the Celtics to shoot this badly. I mean, that is a chance. They need to continue this rebounding, cut down the turnovers, and take your losses from the 3-point line as long as Luka and Kyrie are playing well, right? But Kyrie just needs to make his shots. It's hard for him, obviously. He's been a little pressing a little bit also, but at the end of the day, he's Kyrie Irving. He gotta be Kyrie Irving, no matter the defense against him. That's what it is, right? Um, Giroux, Derek White, Brown, all of them deserve credit. All of them deserve credit for defense on obviously Kyrie Irving, but still, we'll see what happens. I still think we'll be heading back to Boston. I don't know if it will be for a closeout game or if it will be 2-2. Not as confident in the Mavs as I was before the series, but I still feel like they have the ability to win this series. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. The Celtics are great. They are great, but they don't have the best player in the series. The problem is, the Celtics have had the 6 next best players, right? You could argue PJ Washington somewhere in there, but I would say he's been the 8th best player in this series, right? And then it's Brown, Tatum, White, Holiday, Porzingis, and even Horford probably, right? That's 6 players of the Celtics after Luka, and then you go to Mavs in this series. That's just an issue. You need players to step up. I guess like I said, you could argue PJ Washington over Al Horford, obviously, but it still isn't enough. Kyrie Irving has just not been that guy. And that's the biggest issue at the end of the day. It's all about the best players. And when your best players are not playing like best players, that's when the shit hits the fan. And to be fair, you could once again argue the Celtics have 4 uh, best player caliber. Obviously, Derek White and Jrue Holiday aren't best player caliber in a way, right? But they're overqualified role players, right? They're overqualified role players, aka stars. While the Mavs don't have stars, overqualified role players, unless you want to count PJ Washington or not. But I don't think he is an overqualified role player, right? Um, even though he can play like it sometimes. Anyway, did I miss something? Did I miss something? Kleber, just yeah, I said Kleber has not been looking good. That's bad. I thought the Mavs challenge was horrible today, and even though they did get a good start, Jrue was cooking. Tatum's playmaking, I kept repeating it, and that was also a huge part of Tatum's of Jrue's success. The Tatum playmaking was, he assisted 6 of his baskets, which was great, and some of them were really good passes. And the Mavs just made too many mistakes. The free throws, point of attack defense, and obviously Luka's defense overall, Kyrie's offense. Not much else to add here. We'll see what Kyrie shows up in game 3. We'll see if Tatum finds his shot, because if Tatum finds his offense, it's perhaps for the Mavericks. Let's just put it that way, right? If Tatum finds his offense, it's probably over for the Mavs, unless everyone else just goes cold, which can happen, but with the way Tatum's been playing, if his shot starts falling, I think it's wraps. I think it's wraps. As much as I like the Mavs, and as much as I like the Mavs heading into the series, because of Porzingis, his question how he's gonna look, and because of Kyrie being the best player in the series, because of Kyrie and his renaissance, even though the matchups for Kyrie have not been there, right? It just felt like the Mavs maybe had the story, the fairy tale, but now it just seems it might be the Boston, not sure if fairy tale, right? But the Boston story, which could be villainous, could be joyous for some, or for obviously whatever. You get my point, I hope. Anyway, that was game 2. Game 3 on Wednesday. Must win for the Mavericks. Before that, I'm not sure if I'll talk about anything here. If you want to see me play some games, you can go check out my other channel. It's like RJ143 Twig, as in TYIK. Yeah, T T V T Y V T V V. I don't know, whatever. I play God of War right now, so it's been pretty fun. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll see what happens in game 3, but it's not looking good for the Mavs just yet. But obviously, we've seen the examples, like I repeated it in game 1 video, right? Phoenix, where there were blowouts in the first 2 games, and the Mavs blew them out at home. We know the Mavs play different at home most of the time, so we'll see what happens. And I'll check back with you in on Wednesday. Yeah. Or Thursday, right, for me. So that is that. Anyway, thank you all. Be kind to yourself and to others. Um, Try to be as empathetic as possible, as morally possible as you can. And yeah, just be you, live, and life will figure itself out. Figure itself out. Life will figure itself out. Bye.